The mountain overlook is quiet in the early light. The valley below is still covered in shadow. The horizon is just beginning to change. And maybe that is where this feeling belongs. Not at the end of something, not at the full arrival, but here, in the strange place where nothing looks completely different yet, and still something inside knows the old way cannot carry everything forward. That can be confusing, because most people expect change to announce itself. They expect a clear decision, a sudden turning point, a visible before and after. But a lot of the time, change begins more quietly than that. It begins as discomfort with what used to feel normal. It begins as a slight distance from patterns that once made sense. It begins in the body before the mind has language for it. A pressure behind the eyes after thinking the same thoughts too many times. A tiredness in the jaw from keeping certain words unspoken. A heaviness around the forehead when the mind tries to solve a life that is still becoming. And because nothing dramatic has happened, it can be tempting to dismiss it, to call it a mood, to call it stress, to call it nothing. But something keeps returning, a quiet knowing that the way things have been cannot remain the only way things are. The light slowly reaches the ridge. Rise, touch, open. Rise, touch, open. The rhythm is subtle. It does not force the valley to change all at once. It simply reaches one place, then another, then another. And maybe that is closer to how real change begins, not by overturning the whole life in one breath, but by touching one small place that has been ready for a different kind of honesty. There may be a part of you that has known something was shifting before you were ready to admit it. Not because everything was wrong, not because the past was wasted, not because a dramatic answer was required. More because the old way of carrying life has become too small for who you are becoming. That realization does not need to be rushed. It can stand here without becoming a plan. It can be felt without being explained. The body begins to understand first. The breath moves with a little less effort. The shoulders no longer seem as committed to holding yesterday in place. The chest has more room than it did a few moments ago. Rise, touch, open. The rhythm returns, and this time it feels less like light on the ridge, more like permission for something to become visible in pieces. There is a question underneath all of this. It is not loud. It may not even be fully formed, but it has been living somewhere beneath the routines. What if the discomfort is not proof that something is failing? The question lands, then turns into something quieter, a possibility that the discomfort may be part of becoming honest. Not an emergency, not a mistake, not a sign that everything has to be fixed immediately. The nervous system has spent so much time treating discomfort like danger, but some discomfort is only the first edge of truth. A bird moves across the ridge. For a moment, it changes the stillness. Then it disappears into the widening light. Attention follows it, and when the quiet returns, the old tension feels less absolute. The jaw eases. The breath settles into more room. More weight is being held by what is beneath you. Nothing has been fully decided. Nothing has been forced into clarity, but the body is no longer arguing as hard with what it already knows. That is where things begin to change, not in the perfect plan, not in the final answer, but in the moment the nervous system no longer has to pretend the old shape feels right. The valley below is still partly shadowed. The light has not reached everything, but it has reached enough. Enough to see that not everything has to be known before movement begins. Enough to feel that possibility is still alive under the uncertainty. Enough to remember that becoming rarely asks for a complete map. Rise, touch, open. The rhythm returns again. This time it feels steadier. Life is not demanding certainty here. It is making room. Room for one honest thought. Room for one softer breath. Room for one small part of the future to feel less closed. The pressure to solve everything begins to loosen. The pressure to know exactly what comes next becomes less convincing. The pressure to explain this moment to anyone else starts to fade. The change does not need an audience. It does not need proof. It does not need a dramatic name. It can begin quietly, inside the place that finally stops denying what it feels. And from there, something opens. Not loudly, not completely, but truly. The horizon continues brightening. The valley continues revealing itself. The path forward remains unfinished. That no longer feels like failure. It feels like life still having space to arrive. There are possibilities ahead that cannot be reached by the old pressure. There are versions of you that cannot be carried by the old patterns. There are openings that only appear when the grip begins to loosen. The body feels that now. The chest has room. The breath is less guarded. The future is not as far away as it felt before. Rise, touch, open. The rhythm returns one final time, gentle, steady, continuing. This is where things begin to change. Not because everything is clear, not because the whole valley is lit, not because every answer has arrived. Because something honest has become easier to feel. Because the old tension has lost some of its authority. Because life is still opening beyond what can currently be seen. The morning continues. The horizon keeps widening. The story remains unfinished. And somewhere in that unfinished space, something real is beginning. Still quiet, still forming, still becoming,